I used to think storms were beautiful. When I was little, Mama and I would sit on the porch during summer rains, wrapped in a quilt that smelled like the dryer and rosemary. She'd hold a mug of chicory coffee and hum old blues songs, and I'd count the seconds between the lightning and thunder. We used to pretend that the wind was trying to tell us stories. I never thought a storm could want you dead. August 23, 2005. The sky was a mean yellow that morning. Humid enough to make your skin stick to your sheets. I remember because I was trying to do my math homework at the kitchen table, and the pencil kept slipping in my sweaty hand. Gonna be a storm, Mama said, cracking eggs over the sink. You can feel it in the floorboards. That's how she always knew, through the house, like the walls whispered to her. Mama wasn't afraid of weather. She'd grown up through hurricanes, floods, even a tornado once. She'd say, "You don't run from rain. You respect it." Still, she pulled out extra candles and double-checked the first aid kit. That was the first sign. The second was when Mr. Broussard came pounding on our door after lunch. He was our upstairs neighbor, wiry, grumpy, retired Navy, the kind of man who wore socks with sandals and called everyone kid. "They're sayin' it's headin' straight for us now," he said, waving a printed weather advisory. "Katrina's not turnin' north. It's comin' in hot." That night, the news turned serious. They were showing maps with red circles and words like Category 4 and mandatory evacuation. Mama stared at the screen, chewing her lip. I packed my backpack with a toothbrush, 3 shirts, my Walkman, and a drawing I'd made of a pelican on the lake. Then I asked, "We goin'?" She didn't answer right away. Finally, bus stations are full. Roads are jammed. We ride it out, baby. I wanted to argue. I wanted to be brave. I just nodded. The next day, she left. Not forever, just for work. She was a kitchen assistant at a hotel downtown, and they were short-staffed because half the crew had already evacuated. "I'll be back tomorrow morning," she said, kissing my forehead. "You stay inside. Mr. Broussard will check in on you." I stood at the screen door, watching her walk down the street with her bag, wind pulling her braid to one side. That was the last time I saw her before everything changed. The house felt bigger without her. Hotter. Lonelier. I boiled pasta and watched cartoons on low volume. I fed the cat. I tried not to check the news again. When the rain finally came, it was soft. Gentle. Like a lie. But by midnight, the wind was screaming. The power went out at 2:17 a.m. I know because I was staring at the blinking green digits when they vanished. Somewhere outside, something metal hit something else, a crash that made the whole house shiver. Then came silence. And in that silence, I heard the water rise. I never thought the dark could be so loud. The windows groaned, then shuddered, then screamed. Wind pressed against the house like a giant trying to crush it in its hand. Rain hit sideways, not falling, but flying, slamming into the glass with such fury that I started counting the seconds between each gust just to distract myself. 3, 7, 12. Something exploded outside. A transformer maybe. The whole sky flashed blue-white, and for a second I saw the street, water already creeping over the curb, trees bending like they were bowing to something angry. I crawled into the hallway closet with a flashlight, my backpack, and the cat, Jellybean. She hated the noise more than I did. She burrowed against my legs, vibrating with fear. I hugged my knees and whispered into the dark. "Mama's coming back." I said it like a prayer. I said it like a promise. I said it until I started to believe it. At some point, I fell asleep. I woke up to water. It wasn't deep, not yet, but it was cold, ankle-high, and crawling up through the floorboards like it had fingers. I stood barefoot in the kitchen, staring at the floor bubbling and swelling like dough. The back door creaked. Not from the storm. From pressure. I opened it a crack, and the yard was gone. Replaced by a lake. Fences underwater. The neighbor's car already half submerged. I slammed the door shut and ran upstairs. By morning, the first floor was gone. All of it. Kitchen, TV, bookshelves, Mama's chair. The water filled it like it had always belonged there. Floating in the living room I saw the cereal box, the one Mama bought on sale last week, bobbing like a toy. I tried not to cry. Instead, I packed more things into my backpack. Granola bars. A candle. A photo of Mama and me at the zoo. I took her pillow, too. Just to feel something soft. That's when I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy. Slow. Wet. I froze. Mr. Broussard? I called. No answer. The footsteps stopped outside the bedroom. I backed into the corner. Gripped the flashlight like a weapon. Then, a knock. Just one. I opened the door slowly. Nothing. The hallway was empty. No sound. No wind. Just the rising water behind me. That's when I understood. I couldn't stay. If the water reached the second floor, it would be too late. I climbed out the window and pulled myself onto the roof. The shingles burned my hands. The sun was brutal. But at least I could see. From up there, the world looked drowned. Blocks and blocks of rooftops poking from the water like forgotten islands. Some people on their roofs. Some shouting. Some waving towels or sheets or mirrors. I looked for Mama. I looked for anything. And I waited. That night, the wind changed. It softened. It left behind something worse. Silence. The first time I stepped into the water, I thought I would sink. It was warm. Stale. Full of things that didn't belong there, wrappers, branches, oil slicks, shoes with no feet in them. But I couldn't stay on the roof. The sun was too hot, and the food was gone. No boats came. No helicopters. Just the buzz of insects and the far-off echoes of people yelling into nothing. So I climbed down, one slippery gutter pipe at a time, my backpack tied to my shoulders and a piece of cardboard on my chest that read, "Help us. Still alive." The water came up to my ribs. Every movement stirred silt and garbage, made me think of snakes or broken glass. I held my breath each time I had to push floating debris aside. And that's when I heard her. A voice. High and cracked. "Hello? Somebody?" It came from a gutted house with a missing front wall. A Barbie bike hung sideways in a tree outside. I climbed the porch, careful not to slip. Inside, I found her, curled under a dining table like it could still protect her. Her hair was matted. Cheeks streaked with salt and dust. She was maybe 7. Tiny. Too tiny to be alone. "Hey," I said, crouching low. "Are you hurt?" She looked at me like I was a ghost. "Where's my mom?" I didn't have an answer. So I said, "Let's get out of here." Her name was Kendra. Her mom had left 2 days ago to try and find a rescue boat. Told her to stay put. But nobody came back. She showed me a peanut butter jar with 3 spoonfuls left and a stuffed rabbit missing one ear. I carried her on my back through the flood. She clung to me so tight I could feel her heartbeat in my spine. We found a corner store half flooded but not looted. I broke a window with a cinder block. Inside, it smelled like sour milk and mold. We scavenged canned peaches, 2 juice boxes, and a half-wet pack of crackers. I wrapped them in a garbage bag and stuffed them into my backpack. Then I saw the photo wall, behind the counter, families, babies, birthday Polaroids. Lives that had floated away. I added a photo of Mama and me, from my wallet, and pinned it there with a thumbtack. "Maybe someone will see it," I told Kendra. She didn't answer. Just hugged the rabbit tighter. That night, We slept in the storage room, on top of flattened soda boxes. The air was thick. The ceiling leaked. I gave Kendra my shirt as a blanket. Sometime past midnight, she asked, "Are we gonna die?" "No," I said, without thinking. "Not while I've got legs." At dawn, we set out again. The water was lower, but still up to my thighs. We passed a car with a dog still inside. A mailbox stuffed with floating leaves. A man on a second-floor balcony playing a guitar to no one. Kendra whispered, "This place is broken." I squeezed her hand. "It's not done yet." We didn't know where we were going. We only knew we had to keep moving. Because the streets were full of ghosts now. And we weren't ready to join them. By the third day, the water didn't smell like water anymore. It stank of gasoline, rot, things that were once food and now weren't. But it was quieter, too. No more screaming. Just the sound of crows and the occasional groan of a building giving up. We floated on a wooden door. I'd ripped it off its hinges with a rusted hammer. It creaked under our weight but held. Kendra sat cross-legged, Bunny in her lap. I paddled with a broom handle. The streets had stopped looking like streets. No signs. No people. Just windowless houses and cars like sunken bones. Then we saw the pharmacy. It looked almost untouched. We pushed up to the entrance and climbed through the broken window. Inside, it was dark and damp, but the shelves still held bottles and boxes. "We can find bandages," I said. Kendra had a blister on her foot. Maybe even some real food. We moved fast. Canned stuff. Alcohol pads. Tylenol. I even found a raincoat in the corner and tied it around Kendra like armor. Then the voices came. Not yelling. Not crying. Laughing. Low. Mean. Close. We froze behind the counter. Through the glass door, we saw them, 3 men. Shirts tied around their faces like bandits. One held a crowbar. Another a baseball bat. They weren't looking for survivors. They were looking for whatever wasn't nailed down. Kendra gripped my hand so tight it hurt. I whispered, "Quiet. Don't move." The men entered. Loud. Careless. They knocked over displays. Opened drawers. Swore. One said, "Grab the safe. If there's no cash, maybe meds." They came closer. Kendra's bunny slipped from her lap and hit the floor with a soft plop. One of them turned. I jumped up. "Wait," I said. "We're leaving." They stared at us. The man with the bat stepped forward. His eyes were hollow. "This ain't your place." "We're not stealing," I said. "We're just trying to survive." He looked at Kendra. Then at me. Then at the bag in my hand. A tense silence. Then the third man, the one with the crowbar, said, "Let 'em go. Ain't worth it." Batman spit on the floor, turned away. We backed out slowly, heart pounding, never turning our backs. Outside, I wanted to collapse. But Kendra stood tall, even if she was shaking. "You were brave," she said. "No," I replied. "I was lucky." That night, we found shelter in a church. The pews were pushed against the doors. Candles flickered near the altar. Inside were 4 others, an old woman with a dog, a man in a wheelchair, and a couple with matching bruises on their arms. No one asked questions. We all just nodded. Like soldiers recognizing each other after the war. Kendra curled up beside me, under a stained glass window. "I miss cartoons," she whispered. "I miss my mom." And we fell asleep with shadows on the walls and sirens in the distance. The church smelled like mildew and old candles. Stained glass saints looked down at us like they weren't sure if we belonged. Maybe we didn't. Maybe no one did anymore. The pews were lined with blankets, buckets of rainwater, and silence. The old woman was named Miss Raylene. The dog, Buttons. He didn't bark, just followed her like a shadow. The man in the wheelchair was called Clyde. His right foot was gone, wrapped in a towel soaked through with brown. The couple said their names were Carl and Nina. They didn't talk much. Only whispered to each other. I noticed Carl had a knife in his waistband. Nina didn't meet anyone's eyes. We were all waiting. But no one knew what for. No boats came. No army trucks. No helicopters. Just more heat. More rot. More water that refused to go away. Clyde had a transistor radio. He turned it on twice a day. Static. Then voices. Rescue teams focused on high-risk zones. Superdome at capacity. Martial law under consideration. No one said New Orleans was fine. But no one said we were forgotten either. That made it worse. On the third night, Miss Raylene began to cough. Wet. Sharp. Deep. Clyde checked her forehead. She's burning up. We had aspirin. Not much else. She needs a doctor, I said. Carl laughed dryly. Good luck. I stood. I'll go look. Maybe someone out there knows something. Carl stepped in front of the doors. You go, you stay gone. I blinked. What? You leave, you bring danger back. Or worse, leave people here who'll take everything we got. I looked around. No one spoke. Even Clyde didn't look at me. Only Kendra did. She whispered, we can't leave her. And that's when I knew. We waited until midnight. Then we slipped out the back. The streets were darker than before. The water lower, but thicker. Everything shimmered with oil. Every sound was louder. And the silence between sounds, worse. We made it 6 blocks before we saw lights. Headlamps. Flashlights. A boat. We ran. Shouted. Waved. They stopped. 3 people. Volunteers. Tired eyes. One of them, a nurse. They gave us water. Crackers. A space blanket. I begged, please. There's a sick woman. A church. 10 blocks west. She needs help. The nurse nodded. We'll go. We rowed back with them. The boat scraped buildings, dodged cars. When we reached the church, it was empty. Gone. No blankets. No people. Just a dog leash tied to a pew. Buttons was gone too. Kendra sat on the floor. She was sick, she whispered. I know. We waited there until dawn. The nurse left us with a walkie-talkie and instructions. Stick to the rooftops. There's a drop point at the old library in 2 days. Then they disappeared into the water like ghosts. Kendra curled against me. I thought we were helping, she said. We tried. But it wasn't enough. I didn't have an answer. Only the rising wind. Only the echo of Button's collar ringing somewhere in the water. The library was never meant to be a shelter. But in the flood, it became a lighthouse. We reached it by wading through thigh-deep water and scaling a fire escape slick with algae. The old stone building sat like a forgotten castle, its stained bricks kissed by morning sun and salt air. On the roof were 5 people. Tired. Wary. But alive. A woman in a postal uniform waved. You the girls from the nurse? I nodded. I'm Lila. This is Kendra. She grinned. I'm Ro, welcome to the book fort. Inside was a miracle. Blankets made from curtains. Soup cans stacked like gold. A rain-catching system made from PVC pipes and broken umbrellas. And books, hundreds of books, drying on tables, walls lined with pages pinned up to reduce mildew. Books make good insulation, Rose said. And better company. Kendra found a copy of Charlotte's Web and read aloud to herself while I helped Ro boil rainwater. We've got 2 days of supplies left, Rose said. There's a drop coming. But if it misses. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. That night, we told stories. One man, Devon, had been a high school coach. Another, Carmen, had lost her dog and refused to cry in front of anyone. Ro had once delivered letters to every corner of the 9th Ward. I knew every porch, she said. Now I don't even know what's left standing. I shared Mama's photo. She went out before the storm. Never came back. Ro nodded slowly. Maybe she's the one who sent that nurse to you. Kendra smiled at that. It was the first time in days I'd seen her do it. The next morning, a cloud of smoke rose in the distance. We climbed to the higher ledge. A house was burning 3 blocks west. People gathered near it, too many for comfort. Ro frowned. That's not survivors. That's a raid. What do you mean? There's a group, desperate, violent. Looters. They torch places they can't take. Sometimes, people with them. My stomach sank. What if they come here? Ro glanced at the backpacks, the makeshift beds, the drying books. They will. We packed quickly. Split into pairs. Meet at the overpass, Ro ordered. If we get separated, wait until sundown. If no one comes, go east. Kendra clutched my hand. Will we stay together? I nodded. I promise. And we slipped back into the city, like whispers between the ruins. We didn't all make it to the overpass. Devon was missing. Carmen never showed. We waited until the sun turned orange. Ro's jaw tightened. We move. That night, Kendra asked, why do bad people always survive? I thought for a long time. They don't, I finally said. They just make more noise. We reached the eastern edge of the city by dawn. There were no more rooftops. No more dry sidewalks. Just open water and a rusting bridge stretching into the trees. On the map Ro had drawn, this was Drop Point Alpha. But there was no one here. Just wind. Buzzing flies. The shimmer of heat off broken pavement. Kendra sat down hard. Her feet were raw. Her bunny was soaked. Maybe they forgot, she whispered. I crouched beside her. They didn't. But even as I said it, doubt crawled up my throat like smoke. Around noon, we heard it, distant rotors. We scrambled to the overpass. Waved a torn red towel. Screamed. The helicopter passed overhead, then circled back. It hovered low. A rescue team inside. They dropped a rope ladder. Kendra's eyes filled with tears. This is it, she breathed. We were halfway up when I saw her, a girl, younger than Kendra, standing knee-deep in water behind a fence. Alone. No one else around. She didn't wave. Didn't shout. She just stood there. Watching. The rescuer gestured, you coming? I looked at Kendra. Then back at the girl. Wait, I said. I climbed back down. Ran. Waited to her. Hey. Where's your family? She didn't speak. Just looked at me with wide, dry eyes. I lifted her. Carried her back. The helicopter dipped lower to meet us. Kendra reached out from above, crying, hurry. We made it. All of us. I held the new girl in one arm, Kendra in the other. We soared above the city, a sea of rooftops, black scars of burn marks, blue tarps flapping like flags of surrender. And beneath it all, the water still rose and fell. At the rescue camp, they gave us food, beds, clean clothes. People cried. Prayed. Slept for days. But I couldn't forget the church. Clyde. Raylene. The leash. And the look in Carmen's eyes before she disappeared. Weeks later, someone posted a board of survivors. One name caught my eye. Carmen R. Alive. Transferred to Baton Rouge shelter. Mama. I didn't cry when I saw her. Not at first. She ran to us, pulled us both close. Kendra sobbed into her arms. I just stood there, blinking. Lila, Mama whispered, holding my face. You got her here. You got her through it. I didn't know if I could, I said. You did. That night, I sat outside the tent, staring at the stars. The same sky that had betrayed us, now full of quiet. Kendra curled beside me, sleeping. The little girl, her name was Macy, drew pictures on a notepad someone gave her. She drew rooftops. Dogs. A boat made of books. And 3 girls on it, holding hands. I asked her, where do you think we go next? She thought for a moment, then said, somewhere dry. We laughed. The flood took everything. But it didn't take us.